What's going on, sports card hobby family?
What time is it? Game time! Woo!
Today we're talking about PSA's new label change, as well as what the heck has been selling on COMC.com. I was ready for the weekend and Super Bowl Sunday. It actually turns out that my youngest, his birthday is going to be on Sunday, and he actually said, "Dad, I know I normally go to bed around 8 o'clock, but I've got to stay up and watch the full game." Of course, it starts at about 6:30. It'll end at about 10:30, 11. So we're going to allow it. The birthday boy is watching the full Super Bowl. He's turning 9. Shout out to today's video sponsor, COMC, who provided me data here today. Before I dive into that, we got our card showcase shout-outs. First up, hailing from West Georgia Sports Cards, a couple of incredible auctions that are going on at Heritage Auctions right now. First, uncut sheet of 1993 finest basketball cards, and I know that this has the 90s basketball card collector salivating. Of course, a beautiful set. Iconic is a word that's thrown around a lot, but I think for this generation, my generation, I was 12 in 1993. These cards in particular, kind of some of those first chromium cards, not the first, but some of the first to come out, they have special meaning. And to see uncut sheets of these cards is rare. So we've got the basketball. They also have what might be the only uncut sheet ever found, a 93 Topps Finest baseball uncut sheet with 89 cards in total. Make sure to check out these auctions. I'm going to put a link in the video description as well as in the pinned comments, coming from West Georgia. And next up, we've got Jay. I'll put up his IG account here. Jay specializes really in, I would say, vintage non-sports entertainment type cards. He's got a lot of awesome graded copies. He's got a lot of awesome vintage graded Disney cards that he is taking to Investabilia show in Dallas starting maybe today. It's this weekend, so make sure to check him out. He is at B6, section B6. Jay is awesome because he's got all sorts of variety of different pop culture, non-sports entertainment. He's got sports cards as well, but really the bread and butter is the vintage Disney stuff is what he is going to have there. A lot of focus around the Walt Disney card from 1931, of course. That's kind of the most popular Disney card. But Jay has got a plethora of graded character cards. And so for those, again, maybe you're a vintage baseball card collector, vintage football card collector, you're looking to add in some of those historical entertainment type cards, Jay is your guy. So make sure to check out his booth, Investabilia, this weekend if you happen to be in Dallas, or just check out his IG. I'm going to put his IG up here as well, flashing it up. And guys, if you want to have your cards added to the weekly card showcase, it's Tuesday and Friday. It's for a small fee. I'll put the rates up. Frank, can we get the rates? Put a picture up here. Reach out to me directly on IG at SportsCardDad, or my email address is in the video description. All right, we'll start with the PSA label. So as we know, PSA and Beckett are the only companies right now that are authenticating kind of those aftermarket autograph cards. And I've said this before, we've gone back and forth with viewership because I know there's some people that just don't agree with me on this subject. I think that grading aftermarket, when I say aftermarket, not in-person sign, when you're watching somebody sign it at a show and then JSA or whoever, Beckett's going to authenticate it there at the show, that's one thing. CGC does this on the comic book side. Stan Lee signs it. They authenticate it right there on site. Actually, CGC only authenticates their yellow label for in-person autographs that they witnessed. If it's a witnessed autograph, if a rep witnessed it, now I know what you might say as well. I mean, look at all the cards that we're getting in our packs. They're shipping those off to athletes and kind of hoping for the best. I get it. Look, this is a loose thing. I think, again, autographs in general in our hobby are the most complex part of the hobby as far as buying, selling, trading. There's so much nuance to it. I think it's got to be a really tough job if you're at these companies and you're trying to authenticate an autograph that somebody sends to you in the mail. And so what's been floating around recently is we've seen kind of fake cards or replica cards, not the actual card, but maybe a replica, but it's got an authentic autograph on it. PSA authenticates it, but the issue is there's some confusion to where now they've differentiated to a blue label. It was their standard red label, but what they've done is they've added a blue label, and the blue label signifies that it's an authentic autograph, but not necessarily an authentic card. I think, again, this still makes it tricky. I like the fact that PSA is doing this because I think this differentiator is certainly needed. I think there can be a case to be made that the average person buying cards is just not going to know any better, and they're not going to realize that maybe they bought a replica card with a blue label, so it doesn't quite solve it. Maybe something more on the label itself. But again, this is a really tricky thing. There's not, to me, I don't see a super easy fix unless you're putting like, might not be authentic on the label or card not authenticated, authentic. I don't know. Like you got to fit all this on a tiny label. Maybe they have to do something like that as we move forward. But again, like I said, this is a tough job for hobby grading companies to sort through, these aftermarket autographs, stuff that's sent to them in the mail that they're trying to sort out. It's risky, kind of on all sides. So happy to see that PSA is adding this, hoping to see it evolves. It's kind of like with a lot of grading companies and just companies in the hobby space, continuing to evolve, not getting too comfortable. Scammers are getting creative. They've been creative over time. And so these companies are going to have to react to it and do the best that they can. All right, and then lastly, we've got sales data. What is selling at COMC? COMC has provided data from the last week, and this is volume of cards, so it's not necessarily high sales. Because if this was just going off of sales numbers, it would just be like, okay, who sold for the most, and then it would pop up on the sheet. So this is actually the number of cards for each player that's selling, and we've got a top 5. We'll break it down by sport. Let's start off with football. It is Super Bowl Sunday coming up. We're all pumped. Number 1, huge shocker here, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes cards have been moving. I think just the shock, and I'm surprised. In some ways, I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that the Chiefs went into Buffalo and won, and then went into Baltimore and won. I thought for sure that the Ravens were going to ride their run game against the Chiefs and have success. Instead, they decided to throw a lot more than I thought that they should. The Chiefs' only real weakness on the team, I would say, is their run defense. And it boggles the mind. The Bills did this fairly well. They ran the ball on the Chiefs, and it just came down to the wire like it seems to always do, and Patrick Mahomes doing his thing and Kelsey. But, the Bills ran the ball very effectively in the first half. And I just look at the Super Bowl, and I think the 49ers have got to run Christian McCaffrey 40 times. Or just, screen. The 49ers have a deep line. They have maybe the best running back in the NFL. He was up in the conversation for MVP. They have got to ride Christian McCaffrey to a Super Bowl win. I don't like the idea of having Brock Purdy throw for 400 yards to try to beat this Chiefs team that has a very good secondary, especially considering Brock's a young guy. It's a first time under the big lights of the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has a decided edge here. That Chiefs, they're used to winning titles. It's kind of like Jordan in the 90s. All right, next up, we've got Justin Herbert at 2. I think people are just excited to see. They've got a valid head coach. They have got Harbaugh coming in from Michigan. The Chargers have always been a team that's got a great roster that has underperformed when it just comes to the actual games. Staley was not the guy. And so now they've got a big-time coach. I expect the Chargers to be decidedly better next year as we head into the season. Number 3, Trevor Lawrence. Kind of interesting. He fell off, and I think maybe this is some of the people that are buying the dip on Trevor Lawrence. People are saying, we're giving up on Trevor Lawrence. People are want to buy into it, and it makes sense. We kind of ride that volatility wave, and I'm sure Trevor Lawrence's career isn't over. He'll bounce back, I think. For Joe Burrow, kind of the same story. Guy was injured all season. There's injury history here that is concerning. He is a top 5 NFL quarterback all day when he's on the field. And so maybe people trying to get ahead of a Joe Burrow resurgence as he gets better and comes back to the Bengals. And then at 5, we've got Christian McCaffrey, an obvious one. He's just played lights out. He's been able to stay healthy. Of course, when he was in Carolina, missed, a season and a half due to knee injuries. He's finally looking good and back in good shape. I think he's highly motivated, and I'm pulling for the 49ers on Sunday. Basketball. So on the COMC site, the number 1 guy always is Michael Jordan as far as sales goes. But for active players, number 1, LeBron James, and he usually is number 1. LeBron is usually number 1, obviously. The all-time leading scorer, popular in LA with the Lakers, it's LeBron. 2, Steph Curry, not really a surprise there either. People love Steph in Golden State, even though the Warriors are struggling pretty badly. 3, we've got Giannis. Can Giannis come back? Giannis won that title, and that's been kind of quiet there. Not as much talk about Giannis, and will he kind of get over the hump for that second title? 4, Luka Doncic. Ultimately popular player. The guy's averaging like 33 points a game, and I think there's just concern is he ever going to win a title? Still really young. But the team he's on now, will it happen? Not sure yet. Number 5, Ant-Man. Anthony Edwards, a popular player. He's kind of ascended a little bit. He makes me think of like, okay, when LeBron and Steph are gone, who are going to be kind of those next guys? Who are the next crop of guys that are going to take over the league and have a chance of kind of winning titles and MVPs. Ant-Man, being a young guy, he's in that conversation. He's shown that he can play in the league, and people are excited about Anthony Edwards. Hockey. All right, we've got some all-timers, actually many all-timers on this list. This list is not very surprising at all. Number 1, Connor McDavid. Number 2, Sidney Crosby. Number 3, Alex Ovechkin. Number 4, Austin Matthews. And 5, the Phenom, the new guy coming up, Connor Bedard. Hockey cards on COMC in general, very, very popular. Of course, they've got the e-pack set up with Upper Deck to where you can kind of easily move into COMC. And so hockey card collectors are big on COMC.com. Baseball, last but not least, number 1, Shohei Ohtani. Will he perform magically in LA? The LA Dodgers, the joke is, I think they just signed Godzilla to a contract. They've got everybody. You know, the expectation, I think, is that the Dodgers win the next 10 World Series. But Shohei Ohtani is one of those guys. Will he come back? Can he pitch the same way he used to pitch? Or is he just going to be a great hitter? We will find out. Number 2, Aaron Judge. Number 3, Mike Trout. Number 4, Julio Rodriguez. And number 5, to round it out, is Bryce Harper. All right, friends, make sure to check out COMC.com. I've got links in the video description as well as in the pinned comments. Have an amazing day ahead and an awesome Super Bowl weekend. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.